All right, let's talk about data strategy. We are all swimming in buzzwords, right? Data-driven, big data, AI-powered. But how do you actually take all that noise and build a strategy that makes a real difference to the bottom line? Today, we're going to build a plan that actually works.
So, let's kick things off with a big question, one that gets right to the heart of the problem. Is this phrase, becoming data-driven, your North Star, your main goal? Because for a lot of companies it is. And honestly, it might just be a trap that's setting you up for failure before you even start.
And here's why that's a problem. When you dig into why so many data strategies fail, you find quotes just like this one. Becoming data-driven is just, well, it's just fluff. It's an aspiration, not a plan. It doesn't connect what your team is doing day to day with what the business actually cares about. Making money, saving money, or keeping customers happy. We've got to aim for something much more concrete.
So the very first step is a massive mental shift. You have to stop thinking of your data and analytics team as some kind of IT support service. It's not. It's a core business function, just like sales or finance, and its job is to create value, period. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is already happening out there in the real world. A recent survey found that only about a quarter of data leaders report into IT anymore. The huge majority, that's 76%, they're reporting directly to business executives like the CEO, the COO, or the CFO. The proof is right there in the org chart. Data is moving to the center of the business.
Let's just make this crystal clear, because it's a night and day difference. The old way, you're an IT support service working through a ticket queue. You're focused on the tech. The new way, you are a business value function. You're laser focused on creating real, tangible business outcomes that move the needle for the company.
Okay, so if the goal isn't just being data-driven, what is it? Well, the answer is to build your entire strategy around value. So let's actually walk through the framework for building a plan that's not only focused on business, but is also resilient enough to last.
Every great strategy starts with a vision. But, and this is a big but, it's not a tech vision. It's an inspiring, simple statement about how your data and analytics team is going to help the entire organization win. It answers the question, why are we here? And everyone from your newest analyst to the CEO should be able to get it.
Next up, a strategy can't live in a bubble. You have to think about drivers. These are all the forces both inside and outside your company that can either create huge new opportunities or completely knock your plan off the rails. A good strategy sees these things coming.
You really have to think of it like a radar that's constantly spinning. You're scanning for three big things. First, what's happening out in the world? New rules, changing customer tastes, stuff like that. Second, what's happening inside your own company? A reorg, a merger, a new CEO. And third, of course, what's happening with technology? What's the next big thing, and what are the risks that come with it?
And now we get to the absolute heart of your strategy, the outcomes. This is the most important part. We're not talking about what your team does. We're talking about the specific, measurable business results that your stakeholders are on the hook for. This is where you draw a straight line from your work to the company's goals.
And let's be super clear here. High-quality data is not a business outcome. A single source of truth is not a business outcome. Those are things you need to do your job. A real business outcome is something your CFO understands instantly, like growing revenue by X%, cutting costs by Y, or reducing risk.
So how do you actually do this? Well, the process is pretty simple. First, you go talk to your stakeholders and find out what their goals are. Second, you map every single one of your projects directly to one of those goals. Third, you define exactly how you'll measure success, your KPIs. And fourth, you manage all this work like an investment portfolio, which is where we're headed next.
A beautiful strategy document is great, but it's totally useless if it just collects dust on a shelf. So now let's talk about execution. This is where the rubber meets the road, and you have to make some tough choices. Look, you can't do everything at once, so you have to prioritize like an investor. A simple scoring grid like this one is perfect. You just rate each project on its potential business impact, and then you rate it on how feasible it actually is to pull off. See how that Gen AI bot has a huge impact score, a 5? But its feasibility is only a 2. That means it's probably too risky for right now. But that supply chain project, high impact and high feasibility,
That's a green light.
So you've got your priorities straight. You know what you're going to work on, but now comes the really tough question, the one you have to ask in the mirror. Once you've promised these amazing results, can you actually deliver?
This is where you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Before you commit to anything, you need to do a serious capability assessment. You map out where your team is today, the skills, the tools, the data governance you have right now, and compare it to where you need to be to pull off your plan. That gap analysis tells you exactly where you need to hire, train, or invest.
Whew! Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here, from big picture thinking all the way down to practical tools. So let's boil it all down. What's your game plan? What's your very next move?
Here it is, your new playbook. It's just 4 simple rules. 1. Start with what the business needs to achieve, not with vague buzzwords. 2. Build a plan that's ready for whatever the world throws at it. 3. Draw a straight line from every single project to measurable business value. And 4. Be honest. Be brutally honest about what your team can and can't do, and then plan to fill those gaps.
So I'll leave you with one final question to take back to your team. Forget the big 5-year plan for just a minute. What is the single most valuable business outcome that your data and your team can drive right now? Start there. Thanks for watching The Explain.